Good afternoon. Welcome to another exciting, nail-biting video by Bland Gaming. I'm Deeb, your host. It's a Sunday afternoon, kind of a chill afternoon. Got some kids playing outside. We actually, well, where I live here in the Pacific Northwest, we're able to get a little bit of sun today and everything. So, today's not going to be a review per se as much as and it's not really an unboxing either. This is just kind of a, let's take a look at the Root Kickstarter, which I backed recently. This got swept up in my Kickstarter addiction, which has been going strong for the last 2 years. So something I noticed when I posted my One Ring video just recently is I have not indulged with you all with my drink of the day. So today we are going to have a Bland Gaming drink of the day. Heute ich trinke ein deutsches Bier. So we're going to have an Optimator today, taking a break from my Irish death, and have a little bit of German beer here. So let me talk about what Root is. So Root is a board game. It's a very excellent board game it consists of 4 different factions in the base set. And what you have is there's the cats. There's the cat faction, which are kind of like almost like the Empire. They're in this invading faction, which have taken over the Woodland area, and then they're kind of seeking to exploit the area, and they're kind of the bad guys. There's almost like a French type of feel to them. Then there is the Eerie Dynasties, which are the birds faction, which have come in, and they used to be like in charge of everything. Then they got plunged into a number of civil wars and succession dynasties, and they wound up moving out of the area, and now they're kind of coming back into the area because the cats have been threatening. Then you have what's called the Woodland Alliance, and the Woodland Alliance is kind of like all the other animals. It's consisting of foxes, mice, rabbits, things like that, and they're kind of rising up in rebellion against the cats, and then also resisting the return of the Eerie Dynasties, which is made up primarily of birds. And then the 4th faction are like the Vagabonds. And the Vagabonds aren't a faction per se as much as a way of life. These are the rogue characters. These are the smugglers. These are the arms dealers. These are the rangers who go and live. And you got all sorts of rodents that are like the raccoon is one, the possums are another that fall into this category here. So anyway, there was this board game that came out. It was very fun to play. And it had this very distinct art that comes with it. And you can kind of see it had this very stylized art, which was to it. And what was really fun about the board game is very rich in its background. And then each one of the factions played incredibly differently. So they wound up making a role-playing game based off of the board game. And in the role-playing game, the players they can be a number of species that they want, but they take the role of vagabonds, kind of traveling adventurers, which are unaffiliated with the factions here. And this is kind of cool. So I have kind of looked through this a little bit. I have not read enough of it to be able to review it, so I can't really comment on how the rules work and everything. But you got your major factions in here. So this is the book itself. This one here is a little smaller than what I expected. Most of the time when you order these rule books, you get that 8.5 by 11 size. So it's a little bit smaller, so it's going to be harder for me to bend back the spine as I'm showing you here. But the quality seems to be pretty good. It's a little bit small. The type is easy to read. Even a guy that has to have reading glasses like myself, never had to in my life. And then 2 years ago, boom, eyes went away and everything. Doctor said it has something to do with alcohol consumption. I don't know. I wasn't listening. So anyway, so here are the factions. Let's talk about the factions here. And it uses the exact same artist. This is the artist that is so stylized. I don't know who it is, but he's definitely got a very cool style to it and everything. So the Eerie Dynasties, obviously we talked about those. Those are like the birds. And then the Marquisat is the kind of the cat faction, which have moved in under, they're a faraway land that's moved in to try and suppress the Woodland. The Woodland Alliance are kind of like the rebels. And then the denizens are the kind of the regular citizens just kind of trying to make it. And then the vagabonds represent the player characters, which are also, again, in the board game, they're a whole separate faction themselves. So I did kind of flip through it, and I saw in here there were some archetypes. That, oh, this was kind of cool too. Like so the bears in this are almost like trolls. They're almost like your non-player character monsters, which I thought was interesting. But a lot of it is, believe it or not, the game itself is a lot of politics between those factions fighting, and then the players being vagabonds, they're basically unattached, and so they can go ahead and decide where they want to go in each of them. And then I'll talk about some of the other factions in the expansion book. So in the Kickstarter, you get this basic book, which is going to be everything that you need to run the role-playing game itself. And again, the theme that I sense of this is that the characters are vagabond adventurers, kind of moving around and investigating each one of these clearing areas where there are all sorts of little towns and stuff. Okay, so the archetypes are called playbooks, and the playbooks are kind of like your class type characters. So we have the adventurer, and this is what's pretty cool. It tells you, okay, these are the species that they recommend, basic demeanor. I don't know how the stats work, so I can't really tell you much about that. But so we've got an adventurer here, an arbiter. It's a very cool picture of a badger there. I like that. And harrier. Ranger. What fantasy game taking place in woods would not have a ranger? Looks like that's cool. Fox. Like it. Ronin. And we got a scoundrel. And a thief. Like that raccoon. A vagrant. Oops. Sorry, again, this is a smaller book, so it's harder for me to get flat. Anyway, so then it's got information about the equipment in it. And again, I haven't read this all the way through. I'll look forward to reading it. So the positives so far, my first impressions of the book are, I love the artwork. I love the idea of the players being vagabonds. There's almost like some campaign play that takes place. There seems like there's some good choices in the archetypes on the way it works. I have no idea how the rules work. The only negative thing I can say about it is the size is a little small comparative to some of the bigger books. Maybe it'll help them keep their costs down. I can't remember exactly, but the whole Kickstarter here I think cost me about $100, which is pretty standard for a role-playing game Kickstarter, anywhere between 80 and 100 if you go like all in like I did. The only other thing I did not like about the book is I am not a huge fan of political correctness. There's a chapter kind of dealing with that, but again, like I've said in some of my other videos, I understand why they have to do this, why they have to have these kind of safety X card things in here, is because there's some basement dwelling idiot that is going to GM a bunch of animals having sex with each other or committing sadistic violence against each other. So I'm not a big fan of those sections, but I understand that I understand why they put those in the books. Okay, so this is the first expansion book here. This contains 4 new factions. There's the Lizard Cult, which is kind of like a fanatical religious group. And then there is the River Folk, which are like badgers and otters, and they are like, believe it or not, they're like the mercenaries of the setting. And then these guys, I haven't read too much. There's moles, which are kind of like this underground type of faction. I haven't read too much about them because, quite frankly, I just got the expansion for the board game route, which has these 2 factions, and I haven't read too much about them. And then there's almost like this, I think this is like an assassins faction, which is made up of ravens and things like that. So what's really interesting to me, there's kind of like a dual feeling with the theme here, in the sense that the theme deals with war and freedom and and, you know, very serious fantasy type tones, but it still has a light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek type feel to it. I don't know as a role-playing game. I can tell you as a board game it works magnificently. I don't know as a role-playing game how it's going to work yet. I have high hopes of it. I have played Mouse Guard, but if you've read Mouse Guard, the graphic novels, or actually played the video game, or not the video game, the role-playing game, it has a very dark tone to it, and it's a very violent world that the mice live in Mouse Guard, and it works. It works really, really well. So I'm anxious to see how this reads, whether it will be kind of a light-hearted type of approach to fantasy, or whether it will take kind of a darker tone. Oh, and this is what's cool too about this book, is we get new playbooks, new archetypes. So we've got the champion, a little more of a fighter type character. I'm looking at this here. So dogs, all right, I love dogs. The chronicler, like a great storyteller, so cool. The exile, we've got our first lizard class right there. Look at him. Lizard be fun to play. Again, art's just very stylized, really cool. Envoy, look at that, a bat. Pretty cool. God, I'm very excited to read this. Heretic, religious heretic, fervent believer in the cause or ideology of most woodland denizens and factions. Very cool. Let's take a look. A pirate. See, so this is very tongue-in-cheek as far as the look of that pirate, but there's no oceans I've seen in the setting here, so I wonder how that's going to work. Most of this takes place very much in the woodland. Prince, so like maybe a exiled royalty type of character. Raconteur, am I like a bard? I like the weasel. Cool. I don't know if I pronounced that correct. You guys have corrected me in my videos. I don't have any ego when it comes to like that, so if I pronounced it wrong, let me know. A raider, a little bit of the rough cider here. We got our mouse Viking character. That's fun. The seeker, explorer type character. I see, pretty cool. And then it talks about more campaign ideas, and then the other factions are gone over in detail. Kind of give you a quick look. Again, this isn't a full review. This is just kind of a first impression. So, anyway, nice book. Again, a little smaller than what I expected, but after going through it, some good illustrations. From the bit that I've read, it reads pretty good. Then I got this clearing booklet, and what this is the clearings are kind of like the little political city-state enclaves and stuff. So I liked this. This is like an example of the different clearings and the political intrigues, major characters in it. So it's just adventuring potential for the players to have. So it's got these pre-made clearings. It's a cool idea. I like that. That was and that's it's a soft cover, but it's pretty nice. Here is our GM screen. This GM screen is a little small because it's the same, it kind of falls in the same type of feel as this. I can't tell you whether or not the tables are useful or not because don't know the game rules yet. But it's nice, it's got some good illustrations on it. But again, it's just a little bit smaller than what I usually have. Got a clearing record sheet, so I imagine that you customize the clearings and make them yourself, so it's an exploration game. And then this is the Woodland record sheet. I don't know what this is, but this kind of came with it. The other thing, too, is it came with dice. I have looked at these, but it's time to open them. And it's got some very faction-specific dice. I don't know if this game will be able to... Obviously, it uses six-sided. Oops, sorry, extreme close-up. Uses six-sided. I don't know if you need the custom dice in order to play or if you can play with standard six-sided. So let's see what we're looking at here. So yeah, it looks like the sixes are just going to be the symbol, the faction symbol. So they're very nice quality. They're engraved. I like those. They feel good in your hand. So those are pretty cool. So this was what I was really impressed with about just tearing these open and everything. So we have denizens, which is filled with NPCs, and then we have gear. These, I play a lot of Free League games, and they do a lot of the cards and everything. I will tell you, these cards are the best quality cards I think I've ever seen in a role-playing game. They are just like really thick, and they're almost like this glossy vinyl. And it has the stats on the back, nice picture. These are just amazing quality. So I'm very impressed with them. Production value on this game is very good. The same kind of thing. We have like these NPCs that you can use with their stats on the back. And again, it's just it's like this glossy, very thick card stock. I'm very impressed with it. And then it comes with these kind of clearing maps here. I assume these are for campaign play. These are very thick, very glossy and shiny. Nothing on the back of them here. But I think you get like, 4 of them. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I almost wonder, these are so shiny, I almost wonder if they're dry erase type boards. And then it came with kind of this cool little bag here. This isn't embroidered or anything like that, but it's just kind of stenciled on there. So that's it. This is kind of the first look at the Root role-playing game Kickstarter. I will get to reading it, and I'll let you guys know. I am still in the middle of my Coriolis game. I'm running a side game of Delta Green right now too. So a lot of my number one focuses, my RPG focuses are elsewhere, but I will get to reading this so that I can get you guys a review on this. Anyway, in the meantime, it's Bland Gaming. Thanks for watching, and have a not so bland day. See ya.